Oh, welcome to Bogside Chats, where we're talking everything DFK and keeping it casual. My name is Matty Pesk. I am not joined by the boys currently, but I am joined by the one and only Wowie. Sir, Wowie, how are you?
What is going on, everybody?
Perfect.
It's so good to be back.
No notes. I was going to say the author of what do you call the thing? The speculative sheet. What is it called?
Oh, the super spec?
Super spec. Author of the super spec, where we get all our PvP intel. Yeah, sir. What's good? How are you? Happy December.
Happy December, man. Well, I mean, what's not good, right? I mean, it's the best time of year, in my opinion. I love this time. It's all just feel good, and it brings like a single cold front into my Florida swamp, and I get to experience what it's like to not sweat outside once every weekend in a year.
That's ridiculous. Yeah,
it's just great. No, it is ridiculous. Trust me. But I mean, I was really impressed with your guys' stream last week. Like that was badass.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we had a ton of fun. Workhorse came on the pod with myself and Franz, and we got to kind of pick his brain. And we're gonna do a deep dive. The two of us, potentially, Guy Kid is gonna join us. He's working the night shift with his two children, so he may be joining us. But if not, we'll just do it us, like classic combo here.
Classic style.
So we're gonna go through like a lot of stuff that Workhorse said, but also I'm gonna sprinkle in some other things that have happened. There was an AMA last Thursday. It was very much an end of the year kind of review, going over everything, and also we had a lot of new people listening because Jewel was going on that run. So there wasn't like a ton of alpha in the AMA, but there was a couple little things Hubert sprinkled in that I'll add to the conversation. But mainly I want to be breaking down what Workhorse, and I'm excited to talk about Workhorse talked to us about last night, but already Workhorse is booked tomorrow night with Stick's intern. And I'm curious how that conversation goes and see if maybe he can pull. I thought we did a decent job at pulling alpha. Workhorse, he knows what he's allowed to say. I think we did a decent job trying to get it out of him. What do you think about, like, what is the best technique to get alpha out of Workhorse? You know,
I got to admit, he is so sly.
Oh yeah,
right? He's crafty.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
a crafty guy. You ask him a question, and you can tell he wants to just unload everything all at once, right at your face.
Yup.
But then he stops for a second. And he's got, okay, no, my legal obligations say that I can't do this. Dang.
That's just what I was gonna say, is that he always wants to unload on your face. That's like always what he wants to do. No, I kid. Although I am curious to get him and Hubert on a podcast together. I know we talked to them on the Wowie show on Twitch like a while ago.
Yeah, it was like right when the codices started popping out.
Right. But I think it's a fun dynamic when the two of them are on together, because Workhorse is closer to like we are, like, just nerdy, giddy little school kids, and like Hubert is like the dad who's like, I have to be responsible and make sure that this is a game and stuff like that.
Hubert's the one that's just gonna like take everybody's complaints and go, okay, shut up.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
No, it was very interesting.
Going to be in here too, going, oh come on, but can't we just like buff the warrior though?
Right? Can't we just like make him better? Let's talk about a couple things up top there's not much discussion here, but I do think it was interesting how he talked about his like former role at Wisdom, and sort of that Wisdom is what he said, like, laid the groundwork, was the quote that I pulled from that. It's very interesting, especially because it seems like it's going to be now Workhorse as part of the team. The relationship with Wisdom is going to be a little bit different, but it sounds like it's like full bore ahead, pun intended there. Like the releases are just going to start coming because like everything is set up now, and like now we're just like just the hits are going to keep on coming from here on out.
I mean,
what it seems like.
I mean, it's like watching construction, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you got like a new house going up in your neighborhood, It just looks like blocks for the longest time, and then all of a sudden there's just a house there.
Yup. Yeah, so I mean, and again, from his like excitement and the way he's talking about, he's like, "Oh, there's stuff coming out like soon and stuff like that," and especially Hubert kind of mentioned that in the AMA. He said that there is something coming out soon. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say. I don't know if I should phrase it like that. He said that there is a Boar Hunt 2.0 that is on the horizon, I guess is the term I want to use.
Is it Boar Hunt 2.0 as in Boar Hunt with balance patch, or is it a Void Hunt 2?
So I'm very curious on this. So something Workhorse said with us in our interview. He said that the current Boar Hunt right now, Void Hunts, like as it is today, as it works, he was shooting for a 25% win rate. And he said and I wrote this down, the next Boar Hunt is going to be a 5% win rate.
Yeah.
So whatever, he's like mad geniusing something in the lab that's going to be basically impossible, or impossible is a strong word there. Basically like brutal and extremely hard.
95% of the time.
Yeah. And so like, I don't know if that is exactly what Hubert was talking about in the AMA, but the fact that they're talking about, the win rate of the next Boar Hunt and also, too, at the same time, all this is going on, they've mentioned that they want to include potions and items and your own items into it. So I am very curious to see what this next iteration, and I think it's a good question, maybe a good AMA question for them is like, should we expect just like this Boar Hunt that we currently have, like, these added things to it where it's like just, more potions and more kind of customability, or are you talking about entire different kind of game coming out with this like next iteration of it?
I think it's closer to the latter, because I think they're kind of burying the lead here, and they're saying there's a lot coming and then giving us only a little information on purpose. My guess is because they were talking a little bit ago about the next class that becomes playable, that's going to have a playable codex, is they had to build out the system for it. And I'm sure everybody immediately was going, okay, that's either going to be the wizard with the arcane power.
Agreed.
That's going to be the seer with all of the extra kooky stuff it does. And my guess was it's going to be the thief.
Yeah, me too.
Because if they're going to introduce a new hunt, they're going to introduce a new system, and it's going to be tied into when they're going to allow us to bring potions and possibly make new potions, then that means the system is likely to be the battle budget.
Worm, I don't think we're gonna go 5 hours, but like no promises. But I completely agree with that. I thought even more so than the other two, I thought Thief for sure is what they were referring to there with Thief, with like the next class that comes out is going to change how you do everything. And immediately I'm thinking Thief and have the battle budget be part of it. Wizard with the arcane power for sure.
Also, we've been seeing a lot of Twitter activity by Workhorse on the wizard front.
I mean, that's tough.
If you guys are
you're saying because he's
Workhorse.
You think because he's dark summoning, that's a sign?
Yeah, because he's always posting his dark summons, his good ones, and it's always a wizard. Not always, but most of the time, it's always involving a wizard. And it's like, I wonder what might be getting play tested here.
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but also at the same time, like I said, Workhorse is like one of us. Like he's a degen, and like he's just, he just likes playing the game too.
It's just a guy being a dude,
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's very interesting. I'm super excited for what the team is going to put out there. I think maybe I'll do it right after we get off here, but I think asking an AMA question to try and get some alpha from them to what is next with Boar Hunts. Because I feel like they've hinted at it, but like, yeah, I agree. Is it going to be just like a different version of what we have? Or are we talking about an entire different, like kind of, Void Hunt thing?
Watch, this one has mechanics like, can only be targeted with ranged attacks during this phase.
Oh my God. Like the NPCs have like weird,
like it flies for half the battle. And so all your melee dudes can't touch it.
And it's literally like heroes with like butterfly wings.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be very cool. All right. I want to touch on this. Not a big conversation, but a conversation we had with him was about game meta and balancing and
Yeah, can you remind me about that one?
Well, first we talked about how, what information are they pulling from this data from this boar hunt? Like what is the team paying attention to? And for the most part, it sounded like the team is paying attention to replayability, how many times people are coming back to it like on a daily basis, how often people are playing in the first place, and sort of like making sure that taunt and so forth like work as they were intended to do. Something that sounds like that's kind of taken a back seat or isn't really a priority for them is like what classes are being used, what moves or what skill trees are being selected, which like I'm fine with this because especially something Workhorse was saying is like he really would encourage third-party sites to kind of like pay closer attention to that stuff in terms of like what classes are more or are being used more, what skill trees are being like produced more often. For them, I think the data that they want is, are people playing it? And he's getting like very positive feedback on that in terms of like people coming back and playing, multiple times.
I mean, like I seem to remember a time about a year ago, and for a very long time before that and after that, we were just reminded of the sentiment of win game. Right. Yeah, but where the game though? Yeah, call me when you get a game. And it's like,
yeah,
we got game. We got game now. We've had game. We had game.
That's just great speech.
Right? But I mean, we're seeing so many people that were like constant fudders of the game, right?
Yeah.
They're just not saying like they've got no leg to stand on at this point, in my personal opinion, unless you were in at the $22 jewel, which I mean the vast majority was blah 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 whatever. We know what that's all about. We know we're going back to $1,000 jewel eventually, but I'd say out of everything, including like community sentiment wise, I've seen very little on the negative. I'd say it's been like before it was like 50 people who were fudding it were really fudding it, but I'd say it's gone to like 95 98% positive. And
no, I agree, and I think the takeaways that they're getting from this is that people are interested. The only reason I haven't played more is that like I just had like in real life stuff and I was busy. I'm every time I do it I'm engaged and I'm excited. I got pissed off, and this is my fault completely. Because I use a different wallet for most of my heroes are on a different wallet. So the one I was playing on didn't have like, I knew I could have won with this team, but I was like, I second replay and they were like, you ran out of crystal, just because like it wasn't a wallet I use normally. So I didn't have that much crystal in it. So like I couldn't do the replay when I was like, I know I could win on this one. And I got so upset because it's on me. It's on me to like, I have to know that like I ran out of 5 crystal. And stuff like that. Like the only reason I'm not doing it more is just because like I'm busy and stuff like that. Like I do think it's super engaging, and I think, and I think across the board people are excited about it. The interesting thing there though for me is, and I'm excited to see this, and obviously like adventures or I just call it ADFK. That's why I got stumbled there. Like ADFK and like DFK Quester and all these other like third party sites. I'm very excited to start to see, and I guess this is another question I should ask in an AMA, is can we get the game meta data from the boar hunts so that third-party sites can start giving us stats like, archers being used in 70% of teams or whatever?
I think that they probably do want to give that out, but they're probably going to hesitate on that until they have the void hunts, like, because they said they want the void hunts to be like seasonal, and I'm using air quotes and I know you guys can't see, but they say they want it to be seasonal, where it's like every couple weeks or maybe even like a week or bi-weekly or monthly, that they switch out what the current void hunt is.
Right.
And I think when they get that system fully set up, then you're going to see the like oh, here are the strategies that other people are using. Here are the success rates with these classes. Here's the, the participation with this and that.
Yeah.
But I think beforehand, especially if they want to circle around that 25% win rate or that 5% win rate, I think they'd be doing themselves a disservice if they release that information early.
Well, I mean, fair point. I agree, but I would love to see. Man, I'd love to see all those numbers of like.
Yeah, me too.
so like first scenario, I just want to see the numbers because I'd be curious on win rate percentages and stuff like that. Teams with 3 archers are winning X amount. Teams with 2 archers, X amount. Et cetera, et cetera. And then
success rate between like.
Go say what you're gonna say.
Okay, I just want to know the success rate between like the Holy Trinity like stability teams versus the speed teams. Like,
yes,
do they have to try more often, but they get it done faster? And do the Holy Trinity teams just have more stability, but it just takes them longer to kill? Like, what's the differential? How many retries?
Yeah, that'd be super interesting to see too. Like both teams are winning in 2 minutes, but just in different ways or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it, but like I would love to see that information, and then also I would love to see if that information is available. Do the overall win rates change? So like if you and I right now had those stats available and we're discussing it and talking about, why we're seeing certain trends and stuff like that, if that was available to everyone, would that then change that 25% win rate that we see in general?
Oh, 100%.
But I think also too, like, as much as this is a blockchain right now, that it has a lot of Web 2 aspects to it and stuff like that, where I think they just wanted to get us something that we can play. And I really appreciate that. But like, I think when it's fully fledged Web 3, like full, everything's on the blockchain, the skill trees, the all those decisions are like visible publicly. I'm so excited for that. We're like, we can literally have conversations about week to week changes in the game meta, like it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, because it's not even meta on like how well does it work. It's meta on what's being attempted the most and what's working the most. But I can tell you right now, I mean, like I think the win rate was pretty substantially low at the launch. And this is just in my observation. I have no real concrete data to back this up. But just like quick videos involving like quick strategy, right? Yeah. Like I know Sachet put out his guide. I know Bolon had a little guide out. I posted a video going over like in depth. Here's how we break down the puzzle here. And then I started posting a couple of videos like, here's a Holy Trinity comp. Here's a Triple Knight comp. And it's like, as soon as people are like, oh, okay, that's how I have to build. That's what I got to do for the puzzle. Like that's when the win rate probably normalized from, oh my God, 99% of the time I just get rampaged in one turn. Like this sucks. I hate this. Oh my God. Oh, there's a trick.
And also shout out to Sticks Intern because he was doing some of those videos where he was kind of commentating on.
He's incredible. I love.
Yeah. I love comment from iOS Code here saying it is already out there. Are you sure about that? He says that those stats that we're talking about are available because it's in the blockchain data. The question is how do I find that then? But also, I'm not going to be able to do that. I am not skilled enough to figure that out.
Yeah, like the follow-up, these guys like it just takes work. Oh man.
Yeah, yeah. I'm out.
Looks like I'm never gonna know.
Yep.
Yeah, the skills picked are probably the most important piece of the data puzzle.
Right.
There.
I don't think that's not on the blockchain because those aren't final decisions.
Right. However, you can't change those decisions.
Fair.
Once you started, so that might.
That's interesting. Yeah, somebody go find that for me if that's on the blockchain, and I can then produce it into a nice chart for me to read. Thank you.
I mean, spreadsheet it.
All right, that was an interesting conversation. I think Workhorse is all about those like the third party people like coming up and creating cool tools, which I think the community will once it's in like full fledged swing.
I mean, we're still in the bear swing, right? So I mean, it's still the bear season.
Jewel got back up to 50 cents. It went down to it got to 35, I think, at one point. And now it's back up to 50-ish cents. I don't know. I didn't check. I haven't checked in the past hour, so I don't know for sure, but numbers are high.
Dude, I mean, that's insane though. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how bullish I get on Jewel and DFK in general. I just can't allow myself to say we're in like a bull run.
I mean,
like, I want it to be. Trust me, I love it.
I mean, Bitcoin went back down, but is I think still above 40, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 43.
Yeah, but it dropped to like 41. I saw maybe yesterday or earlier today.
It's just getting nice and excited.
But like that's like I'm fine with that. I'm fine with little dips like that. I think that's still bull market territory. But anyways, one more point on this I want to discuss. Something that like I just Workhorse just gets me super excited, and I'm just like super pumped to like to play a game that he is working on. And this was discussing when we talked about balancing. And I was like, kind of like, what is your philosophy on like making sure things are balanced? And the key thing he said was that he wants the game to be fun, and that to make sure that like when you queue up against somebody, no matter what they are coming at you with, or no matter what they are coming, am I phrasing this? Am I an idiot?
Yeah.
No matter what they have coming at you, it's going to be a fight where you can make decisions and potentially be in it. It's never going to be like you come up against somebody and then automatically you lose because like they have the perfect combination that is the meta and it's like untouchable. He always wants it to be a fun battle. And like, this just got me so amped up. I know it's kind of like basic and obvious, but like the fact that we have direct contact with the game designer and like, this is his mantra. I'm just like, fuck yeah. Like I'm pumped up.
You know,
like that is amazing. That's the exact answer you want to hear. And I know it's obvious, but like, you don't hear from game designers while they're designing a game, and you know what I mean? It's just amazing. It just pumps me up.
Yeah, what's the point of making a game if you're not going to make it fun?
Right. I don't know. I guess there's no discussion to be had about that, but like I'm just super excited that Workhorse is on the team and like a big major force to this game.
I mean, everyone's got such a gigantic vision. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
The vision for DFK is pretty large, and then like they've got a bunch of guys that I feel have an even bigger vision.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean,
collectively,
like Hubert has a huge vision, and then like Fox's vision also. Fox has said metaverse multiple times, and then like Dreamer is like thinking about like maybe more real world stuff, but like he's like leveling it in like reality and like making it possible, I think. So like all of them combined, like it could be like the thing that we've all been looking for. And that's not very descriptive, but I hope you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, so I was on Sergeant Filthy McNasty's A Candor Gander last week on Friday. Correct. And I was trying to emphasize the difference, right, between Web3 gaming that we have on the horizon here and like regular media entertainment gaming. Yes. And it was like, the difference here is that media entertainment gaming is doing the same thing that like a movie theater would try to do, where they're trying to convince the prospect into becoming a sales KPI, right? They're trying to just make that dollar sign number go up for the business.
Going to them. It's like it's a
right.
Simple.
It's from you to me, give to me. And Web3 gaming incentivizes player-based or user-based game development, where we're not getting paid based on you coming and buying our game. We're getting paid based on how the community regards the entirety of our ecosystem, how popular it becomes, how interesting and intriguing and engaging, and however incentivized the community is to play the game. So they need to maximize fun to get the actual product in place.
I could not agree more with that. I 100% agree with that statement. I think honestly too, that's maybe even so. I believe in that kind of so much that like I do kind of think of that. I get negative about that because I think the team is sort of laying that out there like so broadly and so big that it's almost too much. And I think the perfect example is like equipment right now. Like the technology they've invented so that we can attach an NFT to another NFT, and we can decide prior to doing so if we want to sell either one of those. Do I want to sell the Fire Sword of Fire, or do I want to attach it to my knight? and I can attach it to my knight, and then he gains powers because he has the Fire Sword of Fire, or do I want to sell it, prior? And then also then you potentially, I don't know if this is possible yet, but like you could sell the knight with the Fire Sword of Fire. And like there's all these things, these technological things that like no other game right now is doing or has done.
I think the bridging was the most impressive part.
Moving it between the chains. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Here's the key thing though, and I think the team knows this. We need something for our knight who has the Fire Sword of Fire to fight. We need that key. We need the game aspect of it, because we could have all this amazing technology, but like we really need that core, that like, that reason to attach the Fire Sword of Fire, or to buy it and attach it to our NFTs. So I think like I'm so excited, and like I am always in awe of these guys and like the technology and the stuff that they are doing. Like it is way beyond my understanding of like crypto and stuff like that. But like at the core level too, like we need that like initial game loop to get excited about, or to have a reason to use this equipment, and to have a reason to attach pets to our heroes and stuff like that. And like always impressed with them, but like also I feel like it's like so close to being like, this amazing thing. But it needs to have the game,
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, it's so funny because I think about it all the time. Like, okay, future ecosystem, what's going to happen here? We got our crypto bros, we got our gamer bros. We're all coming together into this weird new economy, right? And it's like we're literally going to go back to a hunter-gatherer lifestyle in this game. Like technology's progressed so far, we're going full loop. We're going to have people who are professional hunters and people who are professional gatherers.
That's so wild.
People who professionally mercantile everything back and forth.
I don't know. That'd be amazing. I mean, I think here's the thing that's tough though. I think it's an awesome concept, and I think there is a lot of pushback from like traditional gaming communities, because they're like, I do gaming for like an escape and like to get away from like life, and this sounds like it's a job, kind of like to do these things. But at the same time, I'm like, this sounds like a significantly better job than any job I've ever had.
I had to get a job to get away from my gaming life.
right. Like, I mean, I understand these complaints, and I'm not trying to like belittle these people, but I'm just like, so what if it's a game still? Like, are you kidding me?
You can think about it in the opposite direction too, right? So like, this is one of the key faults of regular, like massively multiplayer online games right now. So MMOs. Think World of Warcraft at its worst, right? You get to end game, and the rinse repeat is you log on, you spend 2 hours doing your dailies.
Do the dailies,
and then you log off, and you do that for literal months until you get enough to do something else. And it's like, wouldn't you rather feel like you've actually progressed?
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't you rather feel like,
or you can show what you have at the end of that time? You have it. It's a concrete thing you have. Yeah.
You're not just moving bars left and right. You're not just getting virtual nothing, right?
Yeah.
You're getting something for the time you've put in a monetary statement as well.
No, I mean,
First off, cash in all of this.
I'm in. But I'm just saying, I think someone told me this recently when I was describing this, and they're like, are you in an echo chamber where you're only talking to other DFK people? And I think
good point.
I think there is, because there are real complaints from the like traditional gaming community of I don't want to make my time gaming a burden. I don't want to add in real value to it, because like it's a fantasy for me. It's always going to be something that I just check out from reality, and like I don't ever want it to be like real. And I understand that, and I think that's legitimate. And I think as a means of like release from like reality, I understand how video games can be entertaining that way, and don't need to necessarily have blockchain or Web3 as part of it. But I also think there's a world where like both can exist, and I don't think that's the end of the world. And I don't think Web3 needs to be everything. I think for people who want to participate in it, I think there's going to be a market. I mean,
okay.
Sorry.
I got a thought experiment for you real quick.
I'm so excited.
Let me paint the picture, right?
Yeah.
We live in a dystopian future, right?
Mhm.
Jewel has hit 5,000.
Hold on, this is a fantasy or a real life?
Right. This a potential dystopian future, right? Jewel has hit $5,000 and is on track to like parity with Bitcoin, right?
Jesus. Okay.
This is what people do now. This is what people do. People play DefiKingdoms. This is their actual job, right?
Okay.
They are attributing all of their value in their lives to the value they have in game, and they are basically let's just say working the bloater mines, right? And we're doing land tournaments we're doing PvP tournaments, we're doing permadeath, right? Adventures to go try stuff. And we're talking like, okay, if I
thousands
win
of
this
dollars on the line for like
it's
a video
year's
game
worth of salary for me. The prize total, like, oh yeah, well, we're gonna do 10 jewel for this event. Oh, 50 grand. Okay.
All right. Are you saying is this good or bad? I don't know. I don't know if this is good or bad.
What do you think that does to society?
I mean,
because like a regular game can't.
Well, we saw
a corporation couldn't even do that.
I mean, we saw it with Axie. Like when Axie was at its peak, and Yield Guild Gaming. Like there were communities in third world countries that just stopped what they were doing and just started farming on Axie, and they were getting, not an amazing salary, but they were getting like $2 to $3 or $4 US an hour, and that was better than they could do in whatever kind of tough situation they were in prior to that. So like we saw an example of that already, and like it's very possible that could happen again. I mean, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say very possible, but like,
can we just hand out heroes to the masses and send everyone into bloater mines, and all of a sudden we've solved world poverty? Like,
wow, hold on. Wow.
Wowie and I chatting.
Hold on. What are we at? What minute are we at? 31:55. We solved world poverty.
Well, I mean, how many heroes would have been created so far? It's like over almost 1 million heroes, right?
Yeah, I think it's 0.8 million.
Yeah, like I'm not the ones that are still alive, obviously, but like we're nearing 1 million, and it's like, okay, if we had 1 million people playing, right, and they all summoned once every 3 days, how long would it take to get to enough heroes to give everybody one
in like the entire
Earth? The world? Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, not that long, I don't think.
Or at least to represent the world.
I mean, I'm not gonna ask this question because I don't know the ratio, but like how many heroes are being created in summons versus burned every day?
That's a great question.
Yeah, someone in chat answer that. All right, we need to pull back.
yeah, you're right. This took a. Let's see what's on the agenda.
We want to talk about taunt, I think. No, I'm kidding.
All right, yeah, we do it.
All right. Well, actually, shit. I had one more. I had a big point. Oh, well, final point. Talking about Web 2 and Web 3, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago with the like Illuvium. Like Illuvium went on they went on the Epic's game launcher. And like it's a completely Web 2 version of the game, and I think it was like an interesting, experiment. They spent a lot of time and effort to get there, and it has no Web 3 features whatsoever. So I question the, I don't know, utility or like the because if you get a Web 2 crowd to start playing it, and then all of a sudden you introduce the Web 3 aspects of it, and it's not the same game that the Web 2 people were playing. Are you going to upset the crowd that you've built up,
Right. And I mean, you also got to think of it the opposite way. Like, our AAA gaming studios, once mass adoption hits for Web3, our gaming studios going to start scrambling to get Web3 adaptation on their platforms as well.
Right.
And what kind of an injection of insanity that's going to be.
No, I fully agree. And also weird shout out. Franz told me to listen to this, so I listened to the Bankless episode from like 2 weeks ago, where they talked about Web3 and kind of crypto gaming in general. And I'm not going to comment on it in general, but I will say one thing I took from it that was interesting was when Candy Crush and other similar mobile games gained popularity, it wasn't like everyone stopped playing Call of Duty to immediately start playing Candy Crush. It was a completely separate crowd. You know what I mean? It wasn't like all of a sudden the hardcore gamers stopped what they were doing and started playing mobile games.
No, their moms
it was totally separate.
Games.
Say it again.
Their moms got involved and started playing games.
Right. So
I can speak from experience. My mom made it to like level 9,800 something.
So I think a similar pattern could form in Web3. It doesn't. We don't need to necessarily pull the people who are playing Fortnite and who are playing, who are hardcore Diablo guys or who are in the mix completely with traditional gaming. It's not necessarily that like we need to pull them away and get them to play Web3. I think there's a market that for people who just want to play Web3.
Oh, hey!
Oh, well, hello, welcome.
Somebody say Fortnite.
I know you're an avid Fortniter. Is that the proper term?
Yeah, no, that's what we go by.
Yeah. No, we got kind of high horsey there, and we're talking big picture.
Sorry, I felt like I didn't want to hop on because I felt like I was disrupting a flow. But
no, it's all right. We need to move on.
It's just a chaotic atom bomb of flow.
But I did anyway. So how you guys doing?
Good. I'm glad you jumped on. What happened to the event you were at? I thought it was like
it ended. It was a dinner. It was great.
Oh, it was just a dinner. I thought it was like
it was a charity dinner for a local thing, but it's also a Tuesday, so it ended around 8:45, and I was like, oh,
listen,
I can get home.
This is the first time you like are dressed. You're usually in a hoodie.
Yeah, I don't wear sweatshirts everywhere. It's usually just for the pod. That's not just my daily attire.
Well, I'm very glad you could join us. Like I said, we were kind of rambling. We were like that was like an hour 3 of a typical WoWie stream where we get like weird like that.
It's been a while. We haven't been able to just like start snowballing like that.
Yeah.
Well, so it's funny to that point. I was in the cab watching you guys and looking at the time, and I'm like, I hope they don't wrap up. Like, I really want to hop on. And I was like, wait, these two, they're not going to wrap up. Like, I'm good. I can take my time here.
Yeah, let's move on to the next topic.
Shit, that's right. We got topics.
I also realized the whole time we've been chatting, Wowie, I was gonna pull up my screen as like background, and I just never did because I was so engaged. Like, this is what Guy. I don't know if Guy's probably gonna listen later, but note this. Note what time we're at. 37:50. Note for Guy. You have to be on the pod to be our background scroller because none of us can do it without you, Guy.
So this is the second straight week that we had no background because second straight week Guy hasn't been here. So
yeah. All right.
Crucial component.
Of course. I mean, he runs the whole show. Okay. Something that was a fun note from Workhorse that I wanted to bring up with you, Wowie, was I asked him, and you might have caught this because it was near the end of it, of when we were talking about kind of codex decisions. Like, the big one was like, I think Thief is a good example, but like Thief has like super high like agility, but his codex doesn't necessarily reflect that with like his move set and stuff like that. It was a question Franz asked. But something he said that was interesting was that he was saying like D&D influenced him, and like he's thinking about the like where the power comes from for these heroes in terms of
good
like
response.
I know it was so interesting because it like obviously is tied into the lore of like the worlds that they're building, and also like I think traditional kind of, and this is not new, like traditional RPG influence like definitely informs how he like makes the decisions on the skill trees. But I thought it was really interesting how he like confirmed kind of like, there are different power sources for different like things. I really loved that. Did you catch that?
You can't just have one attribute be the only thing that dictates every single thing that you can possibly do.
Yeah.
Like it makes so much sense too, because I mean, like a really good example, if we're going to use the D&D example here, is the reason why monks are usually pretty difficult to play is because you have so many different options on how you can go about playing almost the same thing. And what the community refers to the monk as a MAD class, and MAD is an acronym which stands for multiple attribute dependent. And it's because you can build a strength monk, you can build a dex monk, you can build a wisdom monk, you can build a constitution monk. Like you can go anywhere you want with this thing, but you can't do all of them at the exact same time. So you've got what's that thing called? It's like option paralysis.
Right.
Yeah. No, and wow, to break in, I would say none of the builds feel good because like I have a dex monk that I've really been focused on the dex. When I look at it, it doesn't feel good because all those other stats feel like they're not represented enough. Until we see the codex, like I'm not going to feel good about or we've seen the codex, but like until we kind of like see it play out.
Right. So, in my personal opinion, specifically about Monk and DFK, I think Monk is going to be one of the best classes in the entire game. Late game. And I think this specifically because of the opinion I've been thrown around where it's like, it's a hot take, I know, and I don't mean to be trashing nobody's heroes, right? But I don't think anything we have created right now is going to be viable when we're all level 100. I don't think that that's going to be a thing. And I mean that specifically because if you've got 2 Gen 1 1010s and they're level 100 and you summon something with it, that thing is going to have absolute monster stats right out the gate and monster growth right out the gate.
Especially if vitality or intelligence are the things you're getting the boost on.
Right.
Which I think every Gen 0 should be kind of gearing towards.
I think at level 100, you get a plus 20 to every stat and then a plus 20 to every stat boost.
I think it's only 4. Which is half.
Think I haven't looked past level 20. So
I think it's primary.
I don't know, but
so it's primary and then
that sound. Wow, I'm not. You know,
I don't think it's
all wrong, but that sounds.
It sounds insane, right?
It sounds. Really
I think it's only. I think it's 4 of the 8 get that.
Is it only 4? Really? I thought.
I don't know. I'd have to look at it again. I didn't think it was every single stat gets that. I mean, even if it's 4, it is still an insane amount to be added.
What's the difference between like summoning with 2 level 10s versus 2 level 20s?
So I know 15. So level 10, right? You get a +1 on their biggest stat. Level. Wait. No, excuse me. Level 5, you get a +1.
It's not till level 30 where a secondary one comes into play.
Oh. No. So 15 it does. So. Level 5, you get +1 on your highest stat. Level 10, you get +1 on your highest stat, +1 percentage on the primary of that stat. Level 15, you get +2% on the secondary of that primary stat. And that's where my knowledge on the subject kind of ends.
So then I would assume that it would recycle at level 20.
Does it go to the second highest stat, though, or does it?
I have a feeling it does.
I think I think so. I'm agreeing with you.
I think they did that on purpose to make sure that you can't, like, at level 100, you're not summoning something with plus 80 to 1 stat.
Oh, so I'm saying, all right. So I see what you're saying. So if you take that at level 20 and then at level 30 would go to the third highest, 40 go. So by the time you're at level 100, you're getting that plus on each stat.
Okay.
I don't think it's on all 8. I think
Dags has got us.
All right. Yeah. Dax, what are we talking about here?
We got Dags and Chad here.
So level 100. This is bad podcast, and we're all reading, and no one's saying anything.
Yeah. So it loops back. So it's highest stat, second highest, third highest, and then loops from there.
Okay. Back
so
to the
only
primary.
ever gets to the third highest, and then it goes back into the first one.
Yes.
Because if that's the case, that's instead even more insane.
Yeah. So it becomes insane for those 3 highest stats.
Well, I mean, think about doing it for like a wizard and a warrior. You've got great stat coverage right there, and they're monsters on each.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you look at like say a wizard, for
Yeah.
example. I mean, there are only 3
You want-
stats we really care about.
Yeah. Well, no,
Like, I don't need it to cycle to strength.
agility.
You know?
No, agility. If you can make agility, that next one.
I was considering agility as the third. I guess.
Oh, as the 3. Okay, sorry.
But
Yeah.
I'm looking at intelligence, wisdom, agility. Yeah,
Right,
you
so-
could say luck. You could say vit.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of stuff that people aren't really thinking about because it's like, oh, this is years in the future,
Right. I mean,
compared
we're not
to where
gonna
we are
see-
right now. But like these humongoid monsters are going to be
Yeah.
common heroes from level 100s. Like you don't
Yeah.
need a mythic to get higher than mythic quality stat growth.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I-
yeah,
well,
you
I mean,
get a
I-
mythic on top
I-
of that, it's incredible. But
Have level 20s produced bigger heroes? I don't know.
Well, so and Dax makes a good point. We were kind of looking at that as in terms of one, double it,
yeah,
because you have 2 of them.
Right. It'll be
2
insane.
level 100s. Yeah.
yeah, it's
But-
absolutely insane.
Despite the kind of ins and outs of how it works that we're all kind of fumbling over, and Dax is helping us, but like it goes back to the idea that I think we've all said that the heroes today are not going to be sustainable in
No.
the future. They're not going to be good enough, and I think that's where the dark summoning pit really comes into play. Like there's going to be like my Dex monster archer that I love talking
Right.
about. There's going to come a point where it's just not good enough anymore, and then put that in the pit with another legendary and another greater stone, and make a new one. Now with level 20 boosts.
I really like that point. Can you get the same boosts in a dark summon when you dark summon 2 super high levels?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's going to be insane. Like utilizing dark summoning of level 100s is going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Oh
'cause
man,
at that point, those heroes don't have a purpose otherwise. I mean,
So
they're still fine, but
I guess digressing back to the why monks are good endgame point.
Yeah.
It's specifically that. Now imagine you're dark summoning 2 mythic level 100 monks that you've painstakingly leveled this entire time, and now you're giving your absolute monster of a monk even more monster stats.
I hope they're gonna have to come up with a multi-leveling macro soon.
Oh yeah, they're gone.
Because it's already pretty annoying. But talk about 2 level 100s and you have to manually summon them up to level 100. That'd be brutal.
Helper fixes this, but yes, agreed.
Think of
Right,
the runes
right.
involved in those levels, though. You're going to have it's 63 runes per
So-
bracket.
Okay, so on your point, Wowie, I wanted to. This was something that we talked about a little bit with Workhorse, and it's been kind of discussed in general, in some of the chats and stuff like that. Workhorse wants the basic classes to be competitive, sort of in general.
Mhm.
Obviously, stats are important, so like we're only talking about mythics, maybe some legendaries, but he wants them to be competitive, with the advanced classes. What that means, and sort of what I've read between the lines here, is that the advanced classes abilities, the skill trees, might not pack as big a punch as the abilities for the basic classes. The knight or the archer specifically, I think is the best example. Like a DPS is a good example where it has the one that deals to all three. It's like 1.2, 0.7, and then 0.4, and it's like it does damage to everybody. But those multipliers might be broken if given to a multi-attack for a Dark Knight. Like that might make the Dark Knight so overpowered that it just like dominates. And so the Dark Knight multi-attack might be like significantly less in those multipliers.
Or it may just give you another option on how to scale your character, right?
Well, I guess my question is, I guess you answered it there. Of like, is this making you kind of pull back on advanced classes, or are you not changing your opinion on it because they're going to make it balanced? They're going to work on the balance. Because for me, it kind of makes me think like, should I be shooting for a mythic basic or maybe a rare, advanced?
my true answer to that would be yes. There's not an either or. You gotta go for all of it, because I can tell you from absolute experience, nothing is balanced. It's a constant juggling, balancing act where you're trying to make sure everything stays within certain margins of strength. And I can guarantee you, we degens will find a way to make sure those margins are broken.
Yeah.
But I mean, also another simple answer to that is, if they make everything across the board like equal, right? Every class is just as strong as every class, period. Then that really, 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 really opens up the economy for what the gear do, though.
Yeah. Wait, say that again.
What the gear do, and
what's the gear do?
What do you have equipped
to?
Yeah, what do you have equipped to your hero? What does the combat bonus from your pet?
Right. Yeah.
What are all of the extra benefits that you can add on to amplify the way you're building this certain character that you've got going on? I mean, let's talk about Baldur's Gate for a second, right? How many end game builds, right? Well, how many end game builds are just, here's exactly how you build your character, and that doesn't matter what you put on?
Sorry.
Wait, answer his question.
No, I agree. I think
switching top.
No, I think there's like 2 or 3 like legendary items that you just are universally good, like for whatever build you have. Like, the gear is so unique and cool that like it doesn't matter how you built your guy, like you're gonna give him that weapon or that armor or that like shield or whatever.
It completely fixes the imbalances that you had.
Because like it doesn't matter, because like if you just but did you get the mace that was like the Lathander's blood? Did you get that mace?
I had to do that on another playthrough with buddies, and I've not been able to use it myself because my buddies are.
So it's like a unique, or I mean, I think it's a legendary item. It's like the highest tier item that you can
hold
get.
it for me.
And if you use that item and then you do Gauntlet of Shar with it, and you don't cheat, so you don't like none of the other characters kill the characters. You like make sure all the characters line up. It gives you a duplicate mace. So you can dual wield legendary maces. And I have it on one of my characters, and like I need to honestly make a video of it and show people this, because like I haven't seen anyone else ever do this.
I've not even heard of it.
He wields 2 legendary maces, and they have the light aspect where it's like, undead like are like rebuked by it and stuff like that.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about right here. We as DGen gamers are going to make sure those margins are never within the parameters that are set. We're gonna make sure
you commented that. You commented that just now. Anyways,
I got from Herbito. Gateside chat.
Yeah. I'll make a Boxside chat exclusive, and I'll show my character that has it, because
we're all dying
I haven't
to see
seen anyone talk about it, and I'm like, he has these 2 legendary maces, and I don't think it's possible to have them.
Nobody believes that.
And I did.
Can I wrap this back to DFK?
Yeah. Sorry, go.
You know that game DFK with the boars and all that stuff. Do you remember? Yeah. No. So we were talking about like advanced classes versus basics, right?
Yeah.
And I think the answer that we all know is it comes down to the stats, right? If Sage comes out and has the same codex as a priest, right? There'll be some differences, but like same multipliers and everything, the Sage will be better. So I think the stats are what separate it. There'll be different kind of effects and stuff. Like Workhorse did kind of leak without leaking that silence will be a Sage ability.
Yeah, we're gonna talk.
You'll have that. Oh,
yeah.
Is that on
That's
the list?
later on the list? But yes.
Okay, but yeah, I think the stats are what set things apart. And
but I think the skill trees are going to be adjusted for stats, though. And so like a Sage, like
adjusted to the point where they're worse than the basics. No, I mean,
I'm friends with this one.
If you have if your basic archer has a dex growth percentage of what, 80, like almost 90, right?
I think it's 80.
Wait, the what?
The perfect archer you have with the high dex. What's his?
88 primary. It's very good.
Okay, so that's nearly the same as like spellbow.
Right, but I had to. How much did I have to invest in that archer to get
Well,
it?
no, what I'm saying is that like
We're
the
talking
skill
basic-
tree, the skill tree he's going to have is going to be based on a dex that's like way less than what on average he's going to have. So like, there's a chance that he's going to be a stronger hero than
Then
I
so-
see what you're talking
about. Fuck, what is it called? A spellbow. A spellbow with like a lower dex who like didn't get lucky on a bunch of rolls and who wasn't using crystals for his dex. There's a chance that archer is going to be stronger than him.
You can't compare my archer that's had tier bonuses, greater stone on dex, greater crystals to a basic spellbow that hasn't had any buffs. You have to compare it to one that's had those same kind of.
I mean.
Well, say they have the exact same growth, right? Say they have the exact same stats and the exact same growth. The abilities that are in question is there a higher multiplier for damage on the archer's abilities than there is for the spellbow's abilities, or is the multiplier equal? Because if the balancing is equal, then then it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Well, I think it'll be equal, and I think spellbow and archer is kind of a weird one because the spellbow has that added magical kind of effect. But I think like say a priest and a sage, right? Because they're both casters generally. I think it'll just be that the sage has cooler kind of effects that add. Like I think the multipliers will all be the same for actual heal ability, but it might have maybe more opportunities to cleanse. Right, because of the sage.
That level
it's just
1
easier to get the higher stats.
Right.
That level 1 that the priest has right now that has the cleanse for sage, it might be literally the exact same healing, but cleanse all 3. He'll have something like that where it's like a little bit different, but like better than
or like what kind of priest equals a common sage, right? So does like a whiz-stoned legendary priest equal a common sage and stat growth for pertinent stats?
Yeah.
Like I see what you mean. Like you put a lot of investment in your archer, but like a lower spellbow, a not as invested in spellbow may be comparable.
Well, but so the thing that kind of like my archer right now has the growth dex wise of a spellbow. But the spellbow has the intelligence. It has higher endurance, higher. I don't know what exactly it has, but any given advanced elite class, it's more well-rounded than the basics as well. So you're gonna get that added boost from like a little more strength, a little more wisdom, a little more endurance. What's up, Guy?
Guy Kid joining the pod late.
How did I beat you here and you were supposed to be on?
You guys didn't have daylight savings where you are?
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it did actually, yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome, Guy. All right. This is a topic that we could ramble on for a long time. I think I don't know.
One more point on that last point. As we were having this conversation, it almost made me value an advanced subclass less, if that makes sense.
Well, I think that's fair. Because I think the skill trees are going to make it so that those big hit moves, those top line moves are going to be close to equal. I'm not saying they're going to be the same, but like they're going to be close. They're going to be in the same realm. So therefore those big hit everybody, like the multi shots that like the big damage ones. I think the damage for the archer is going to be a little bit better because his stats it's helping him because his stats are lower. It's going to bring him up. Whereas the Dark Knight, it's going to bring him down a little bit to make sure that the archer is comparable.
Right. So if you have a Dark Knight sub on that archer, it's going to be kind of getting the worst of both those worlds.
But also counterpoint to that I just said, you're going to be boosting the stat growth overall in the long term.
Right.
So it's hard. I don't know if I think I talked myself into a circle and I haven't changed my opinion at all.
Yeah, as I was making that last point, I was in my head disagreeing with it. So I don't know.
Because there will be some Sorry, go for it, Wowie.
You have to remember that it's not just stat multipliers that make the ability of the ability, right?
Mhm.
It's how well can I stack the effectiveness and how well do each of these specific abilities stack in synergy to go with what I've built.
Yeah. No, very fair point. I think that's a good point to move on from and take that home. Take that home. Take that and
wrap it up, put it under a tree,
smoke it. Okay.
And smoke it under the tree.
Something. Okay. All right. I did. Wow. We've talked about this several times in your Twitch streams. Something he like confirmed, which was this is an alpha, but something that he like very much confirmed when we talked about Workhorse is if you are targeting an enemy, it'll never be 100%. So I found this very interesting. Again, we've talked about this a lot with the degree of difficulty that is included in a lot of the codexes. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the way they use it. You know, we're going to talk about the formula he showed us. I think the formula he showed us is how this not 100% is going to be attained. But in general, as a blanket statement, do you guys have any thoughts on targeting enemies is never going to be 100%? Does that change your opinion on any kind of thoughts of like what you're trying to build with your heroes? Or is that's just the game? It's part of it. We move on.
What's the smallest increment of not 100? Is it a 99%? Is it a 95, right? Am I rolling a D1? Am I rolling a D20 and rolling a nat 1? It's a 5% chance on every hit no matter what. Or is it like a 1% chance, right? Am I 99%? Is it 99.9%? Like, that's what I would want to know.
I think some of them are going to be close to 99. Like we saw, like the formula he gave us.
True.
But also others still. I mean that's Dungeons and Dragons, you know, for all intents and purposes, like the best you can get is 95%. Because when you roll a dice, even if your base is higher, if you roll a 1, you automatically lose, you know?
Well, so, and Wowie and Matty, correct me if I'm just kind of spewing bullshit here. But I thought the reason that it can't be 100 is because of the checks. Like with my Super Dex Archer, when I click on the button, it says 100%. Could it be blocked? Yes. Could it be evaded? You know, sure. I guess it hasn't.
Right. So you're right. His accuracy, which is the first part of it.
Right. Like I'm hitting for 100% before checks. Am I understanding that right?
That makes a ton of sense.
I think so. Again, I think that's if they gave us maybe more info on how the basic attack works.
Just give me a formula that
that's what we neglected last week that we should have. And
he's never going to give the basic attack.
I know Hubert is on with Raph and Neindorf tomorrow night. I think we need to shoot a message and
I think
sure that they get
double feature tomorrow night. Workhorse is going on with 6th intern.
Oh, right. Yeah. I did know
earlier, and then Hubert's going to be on with Neindorf and Raph. So
all right, so we'll have to get all the hard questions that we didn't.
Our guy who does this is here.
There we go. This looks so much better.
In the portals of years, I don't have any stones.
Go play a boar hunt.
Do what you want. Yeah, do what you doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter.
So this is kind of on topic, but it's a little, I'd say a little off topic.
Go for it. Don't worry.
Why not?
We got a Dags in chat right now that is bringing up a very, very, very important point that I've been trying to make. And I've even thrown it in one of the AMA questions. They took it, and it was pretty dismissed, like on the spot. So I'll read this out right here. The void hunting right now, I feel as this auto cleanse BS happens so often. Why bother having cleanse as an active ability? This is so important because statting yourself and getting gear for auto cleanse is going to be, like, I would say, better than bringing a cleanse, right? Just being fast and having the ability to like turn cycling and being able to have the ability to auto cleanse is probably better than having an active cleanse. I would say obviously bring both.
And is this another point for the Agi tank build?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Does it happen so often?
Also, I think Franz and Guy might not know what we're talking about. If you could inform them of like what we're talking about, that would really help. I think the podcast.
Yeah,
Sure,
for
sure,
me and Guy.
Guy, can you do me a favor and click on the eye in any of your heroes real quick? So, oh geez, I gotta zoom in on that one full screen. There we go.
It won't let me.
Oh my god,
I tried.
Yeah, what was that? What just happened?
I'm trying to do the whole zoom.
just trying to
in,
zoom in, but it auto
Like
scales.
yeah.
All right, so which one is it? The recovery rate, the REC, that 2.26% under vitals. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So that's recovery chance. That is an auto cleanse. At the top of every single turn that is taken, you have your recovery chance of cleansing a debuff. And if you click around to your other characters, you'll see that recovery percentage is different.
Right. So, but my question is, the premise was given from Dag saying it happens so often, you agreeing with him. In what world does this happen so often?
So, okay, not in the way that he's saying, but if you click on the Mama Boar's picture up there,
Ooh, all right, now
you'll see a 4.78%.
Oh, damn.
This is almost a 5% auto recover.
Yeah.
And it's showcasing, right? Like, okay, so it's based off of obviously endurance, probably a little bit of wisdom, maybe even vitality. This is where auto recovery comes from, right? And it's most likely that .S formula where it has more auto recovery the further higher its stats are compared to the average of your heroes as well.
Ooh.
So that's where it gets like, okay, endurance maxis might actually have an insane time versus like debuff teams. But my main opinion with this is I don't think NPCs should have this stat at all.
But your heroes should?
But your heroes should. Because in PvP, it makes sense. Everyone should have their recovery rates. Everyone should benefit from this stuff. But in PvE, if I've had to spend 3 goddamn turns trying to land a taunt on Mama Boar for me to kill off one baby boar and it auto cleanses on its turn and rampages me anyway, I did the puzzle right. And I got punished for it.
The NPC, this should be like 0.01. Or honestly, it should be 0, I guess. Even, it doesn't matter.
Well, I know you guys love your D20 die. That's a 1 roll, which makes sense.
It's a 1 roll for you, but it's a 20 roll for them, right?
Yeah.
But further beyond that is for 2 turns. So whenever you land a taunt, right, the monster has a 4-turn 50% taunt resistance buff that does not go away with an auto cleanse. So now I can't re-taunt this thing, or I'm going to have a real hard time re-taunting this thing on top of the already hard time I've already had.
I think I strongly agree with you for NPCs in PvE action like this. I think for PvP, I really like the idea of if you want to spend the resources to make your team 5% recovery, that's fine by me. You know what I mean? Like, because then that's a strategy you've used, and maybe I can adjust on my end because of that. You know, and I won't go for status effects. You know, I'll go for something else. Like I like that being an option for PvP. I agree. I don't love it when these are like you said, these are puzzles that are designed. You know, figure out how to beat this. You know, I don't love it when it's kind of like there's at one point you could just lose. And that's the answer. Like you could just lose at some point.
Yeah, I mean, Military Giant's right. Oh, sorry, Franz, go ahead.
Counterpoint, right? So if we're okay with it in PvP, why are we not okay with it on, as you said, these NPCs, which I think was a little derogatory towards the boars? But in PvE, right, we're mimicking the same kind of battle. Why are you okay with it in PvP?
Well, look, because we're not.
If it's based off the stats, right? If these is generated by a combination of stats.
No, this is a really good point, Franz. It's a really, really, really good point.
I appreciate that.
So the
all right, hold on, stop.
And
I want everyone to know. Wowie just said Franz made a really good point.
Appreciate
it's
that.
a fair question.
And this has been another episode of No, I'm sorry. Wow, go ahead.
Okay, so the main difference here, especially for like, okay, we want this boar hunt. We want the void hunt encounter to be like a boss fight. We want it to be very challenging. We want a 25% win rate, right? In PvP, are we aiming for a 25% win rate?
Guy Kid is.
Guy Kid might, but
That's insulting. That is insulting.
I'm okay with winning a third of it.
But I'm aiming for 100%, and I believe that the system being balanced is probably aiming as close to 50% as possible, right? For any kind of matchmaking, which means that this encounter inherently has advantages that we do not. Like, obviously, we have our own advantages because we can build whatever answers that we can come up with against the challenge. But I mean, regular team versus boars, not equal. No strategy versus boars, not equal. No strategy versus no strategy in PvP, that's equal.
I think that's seen in hit points, mana. The boars significantly higher, significantly stronger than regular heroes are at the same level. Hypothetically, they say level, whatever level. We don't know what the levels of the boars are, but you know what I mean. Like, you come into the battle, the mama boar has 1,000+ hit points. There's a handful of not a handful, but like there's very few heroes that have 1,000 hit points. So like the boars have an advantage.
Quite a lot
in general. No,
over 1,000. Yeah.
Say the answer to a challenge, right? Like, remember what I was saying? Like, potentially for Void Hunt 2, there might be there might be phases to the fight where half of the time it's a flying creature and your melee heroes can't reach it, right?
Yeah.
Say something along those lines. But the trick is to stack bleeds, right? Say that like I'm working super hard to get all these bleed stacks, and let's say like every stack of bleed that's on it, it amplifies the damage I deal over time, right?
And they cleanse it off.
And if it auto cleanses all 5 stacks after I've worked so hard to get up to 5 stacks, like it just resets all of my progress for no reason, and I'm only out resources.
So, are you okay with them taking it off of the PvE, the NPCs, but also taking it off of the heroes?
See, I think on heroes, it's actually a really good mechanic because it's something that you can build towards, and it gives endurance.
And it's hypothetically, I mean, I think this will depend on it. It'll be expensive.
Right, because it'll give endurance maxis something to build towards. Say bleed and poison effects are like the meta, double toxic, and I'm going full bleed ability build, and I'm just putting bleeds and poisons on everybody in AoEs, right? Well, say that, okay, here comes my triple Chad Knight team, and all I've done is stack endurance on endurance on endurance on auto cleanse gear, right? Now, every single time I'm getting attacked or every time I'm getting a debuff put on me, I've got a chance every single turn to cleanse that. Right, and like this is like a counter meta build that,
and then obviously the counter to that is a shapeshifter team that does no special effects but just does damage.
Right, and it potentially
fury swipes. They have 4 fury swipes moves in a row that like don't do that much damage hypothetically to somebody who's like got 1,000,000 hit points. But if your team is built to beat status effects, they're going to lose to the damage team. I think
also puts a check on certain immobilizations like stun. Say I get that sweet ass stun off, and now top of their turn comes around and they just miraculously roll that 20 and they're not stunned and they get their turn back. Like, that's an esport moment right there. Like, my god, he got the auto cleanse, he got the auto cleanse. Like, that's what that's made for. But I don't think that should be a premium feature for PvE challenges. And this is just my whole opinion.
All right. Unless it is like, I mean, I like the idea too. I pull this from Hearthstone, because Hearthstone has some fun PvE. Like, they throughout the years they've had these like challenges where you like face bosses that have special abilities and stuff like that. I like the idea of like a PvE challenge where the guy says like, even if you hit me with whatever you got, I can recover at 25%. So like, screw you. But he says that before the battle, right? And then he says, it gives you that information. You're like, oh well, now I gotta make sure I build the team.
At that point, yeah, exactly. At that point, you know that is a gimmick of the challenge itself.
Right. Yeah.
Expect debuffs to be cleansed because that's a mechanic of the challenge, not well, you just got super unlucky, so here comes a rampage. Pay me 10 more crystal.
Yeah, I see what you guys are saying. I at the start of this conversation was more on the side of, hey, if it's something that builds off stats, the boars have stats too, keep it equal. But you're right in the sense that like we're gonna enter a lot of these PvE battles where they have these special abilities.
Wait, Guy, what are you doing?
What do you
Stop
mean?
what you're doing.
What? What are you doing?
He's building
A shroud archer.
archer with the no. Stop it.
What's wrong with this?
Well, use your words. We're on a podcast. You have to tell the audience what you're mad about.
So,
No, because he's using the what's it called? The wait a turn move.
I am not doing a full left build.
No. I would not use channeling. I would not use a channeling archer whatsoever.
So not to change the subject right in the middle, but channeling, I'm very excited for in the next Void Hunt.
Yeah, I'm excited for in PvP.
I think that they're going to give us more opportunity to use channeling in the next Void Hunt, because this hunt was specifically they put a counter in headbutt target.
Well, I think all well, not all PvE, but like I think there's going to be counters channeling in PvE in general.
Think channeling is just so good that they're always going to have kind of checks on it.
I think it's going to be a fun, what's it called?
I'm gonna have
when everybody has guns pointed at each other. Mexican standoff. It's gonna be a Mexican standoff in PvP of like, are you gonna play a channeling? Am I gonna play a channeling? Like, are you gonna do a counter to channel? Am I gonna do a counter to channel? Like, we're all gonna be like holding on each other of like, should I bring a counter to channel? Like the entire time. I think it's gonna be a fun kind of like meta game within the meta of like, do I need to bring a hero that can stop channeling?
So my archer has 2 moves that don't require a channel, and I also have shroud. So relax over there.
Just saying.
And as far as the team build Mexican standoff aspect, give me my ninja with double days as well as the days for a move as well.
Wow. Thanks, Dax. That's what it's called. That has nothing to do with anybody. Well, anyways.
No, but that's an interesting thought. I was kind of thinking of it, and Wowie, I want to get your opinion on this. I was kind of thinking of it as this Void Hunt was anti-channeling. Next Void Hunt might be, they might have high evasion, so those multi-shots don't work as well, But the idea that channeling is just a powerful attack that will always kind of have these checks, I think that's a good point, Matty. I was excited for channeling in the next kind of iteration because it's all based off dex bumps, and my archer has high dex. But Wowie, what do you think about that?
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Like channeling's, and I think channeling's gonna be very, very interesting. It's gonna be like its own separate little chess match, like what Matty was talking about, because there's going to be so many answers to it, right? Mm-hmm. I can channel right now to bait out your answers to my channel, or to get you to try and like counter channel me, because that, like, let's say your channel ability, you know that you've got more agility than my archer does, so your channel ability is going to go off faster and potentially interrupt, right? Or giving your answers, like start trying to daze this target because I'm setting up for you to target this one purposely. It all kind of comes back to, I mean, I don't want to be a broken record, but I do got to say my catchphrase.
Gotta say the catchphrase.
Can act as a mental deterrent or a mental taunt.
Mental deterrent.
It's all about getting in the head of somebody else. And if you're wasting a turn to go into a larger effect the next turn, that's going to change their strategy this turn. To either, okay, I accept that, I'm just going to have to bite the bullet, or I've got to adjust to answer that. It's going to make it dynamic.
And I think ideally, and again, this is farther down the road when heroes are more fleshed out and we're like level 50 or 60, where you have like multiple threats. Yeah. I would love the idea of having a channel threat, but also the hero mid-game could just switch gears and change to something else, which I think is going to be difficult for, say, Sage or even Archer. Like if you've made those choices with Archer where Shroud and channeling is your choice, I think it's going to be harder to shift to something else mid-battle.
Well,
But also, that's kind of the beauty of the game, though. Like, who knows?
That's a really good point about once we have more levels and more kind of
Yeah.
options. Right now, like Guy put a channel ability or two in there, but like it's hard to kind of stray from that ideal. Like if you're going with channeling, you're putting on Shroud, you're really channeling. I personally haven't tried the multi-shot build without the multi-shot passive.
Right.
Like I'd like to see what that. I think it's critical strike chance
Yeah.
that it adds. I'd like to see what it looks like without. But it's hard to kind of do that mixed build right now because we don't have that many options.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. You got the wild charge on that. That was pretty good.
So beautiful.
Okay, we're running out of time.
I'm gonna be short though.
Although time is not an issue because you guys showed up like an hour late. But
Yeah, it's like 9:05, isn't it?
yeah.
9:30.
I want to talk about the formula that Workhorse shared with us on the podcast last week. Also, we didn't even talk to Guy. Like, guys, did you watch our episode last week?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great.
Thoughts?
Oh, that's it. That's good.
Thoughts, questions, concerns? Like, not really. Like, you guys killed it.
Oh, thanks, bud.
Workhorse is he's so easy to talk to.
I know. Fact.
He needs to continue just doing a
We were definitely fanboying a lot.
He caught us in the he played into our fanboy nature.
Nothing wrong with that. You
We're
guys had
gonna
a
be
good
tougher
time.
on him next time.
He shared some alpha. That's the important part.
I mean,
Just
a little
enough.
bit.
Just enough to keep us at bay.
And he wiped.
So I pulled a screenshot here that I want to I was drawing whatever.
Those
Ignore that.
ties, man. Those ties look great.
The ties were great, yeah. So this was a formula that he gave us that he drew on his whiteboard. And Workhorse, if you see this later, like, I don't know why you didn't think we would do this, but we're going to do this. He was describing how abilities are kind of determined and how the formula is created. Specifically, this example was for taunt, for I believe the knight and or the warrior. That doesn't really matter for the purposes of this. But the idea is there's a base number plus a modifier. In this case, it's 1.0. And it's times your strength, but your strength as it is versus all other heroes' strength. All right, first off, does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions about what I just said?
str.s.
Yeah.
It is a relative formula of strength and not strength in a vacuum.
Perfect. Yeah, that was a better way to say it than I did. But basically, are you on the high end or the low end of your strength score versus all other heroes that exist at any given point? And so in this case, the examples are, 60, 62 is probably like mid-range is what he was showing. But if your strength is the absolute top, it might be closer to 69, or maybe not. I don't know how that is determined exactly, but it's going to be closer to possibly, it's all 1 to 10.
So can I ask a question? See if I'm understanding this correctly.
Yes.
So, in essence, this puts more emphasis on getting those outlier high stat heroes, right? This doesn't
1,000%
quell that.
Yes. This, in my mind, and I haven't seen Bob in the chat, but this confirms Bob Nothing's kind of theory of like min-maxing and creating the absolute, and Franz, you've done this, and I hate to give praise to Franz openly.
Why can't you just support your friend?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do it now. Give praise to Franz. He's done this now. He did it with an archer, and then he did it with a thief, I believe, for agility.
I've done with a bunch. My next one, I have 2 legendary priest sage subclasses that are gonna get a greater wisdom stone. It's gonna be awesome. But go on.
So basically, min-maxing is the correct way to go about. Now, here's the thing. This isn't the formula for every single move set in the skill tree. But if you happen to have a hero who that this is the formula, and your hero is the top of that stat, then you are going to be significantly, more adept at doing that stat. I shouldn't say significantly, because we're talking about a range of 10% for this. Other stats might have a bigger range if that initial multiplier is different. But in essence, like if you can get an advantage on a stat, either through a greater stone, hitting the blue stat, doing better level ups with crystals, then you're going to have an advantage in battle. And I mean that's what's a fact. And we're not breaking the mold here. Like, we knew that initially that those people are going to be good, but now this is confirmed. Like, this is the formula that we're going to use. So if you created a min-maxed hero and there's a skill that uses that maxed stat, then it's potentially at the top level of PvP. It could be a champion
for that one ability.
Right. Again,
for that ability.
Key thing is that the stat that you have advantage on hits on the exact move set that hero, that it works out for that hero. Now, I shouldn't say most of them. We only have 3 or 4 right now, but strength is used for warrior and knight for a lot of them, so it makes sense that potentially you boosted those ones. Dex for archer, but like, who knows what they're going to be in the future. We talked about that. Like, some of them use different stats for different heroes, but in general, I think this is super interesting information, and I'm very curious if it changes you guys' plans on building your heroes at all.
Well, think of the inverse real quick, right? Think of a non-optimized hero with a subclass, right? Think of a wizard with a warrior subclass, and you put a taunt on your wizard. Why would you? I don't know, but just for just saying, you're probably not going to get 62%.
Wait, talk out why that would be bad.
So, number one, your wizard's probably not going to be very defensive, and you don't want the things that can hurt your very squishy, low HP, definitely wizard to ever be taking any damage. You want to protect that guy as much as humanly possible, unless you're going an arcane build on your wizard and you've done nothing but build shields, and now you actually do want the taunt effect on your wizard. So that's to say that the emphasis will be placed on, since it's a strength scaling taunt, which there may be taunts that aren't strength scaling in the future.
Right.
You're still going to have your baseline. So say the strength.s on that one, say the strength mod, like the strength of the optimized character is 35, right? It's like, okay, yeah, it's been a pretty good run. We've got 35. We're going to have a 62% right now at level 10. Now, say at level 10, you've got another one that's got the exact same ability, and it's got 9 strength, and it just hasn't leveled it at all. It's not hit whatsoever, and that's probably going to be closer to like 60.5, right? So it's going to lose that. However, going far into the future, when stats are going to be out of control, and I believe I remember Workhorse saying specifically this, in the future, that this 60% is going to be a 100% because of the stat growth going way off into the future.
So, okay, so a couple things. What you're talking about in terms of growth, yes, I 100% agree. But also, I want to circle back on the like odd builds or kind of
Matty,
like
I just want to point out, by the way, my Shroud Archer just crushed. But anyways, continue.
Hell yeah.
Thank you. The off builds, though, and this is not the end of the world. This move is going to hurt. This is going to hurt your fact that you had an off build, because if you have a wizard with a warrior sub, or even if you have a warrior with a wizard sub and you're trying to increase that wizard subness, you're trying to make him a magical warrior somehow, it's going to really hurt him if you pull stats away from his main stats of strength. And if you put those guaranteed stats in like intelligence rather than the guaranteed in strength, he's going to be a run-of-the-mill, if not worse, strength-wise warrior. And so his taunt moves, this is the example, is the taunt move here, is not going to be as effective as warriors who are super strong in strength. And so, and again, I'm not saying it's a good or bad move, because potentially maybe there's a way to do it where, you don't pick that move for this warrior, and there's some other things going on where you can add magic abilities to him and stuff like that. But in general, I think this formula proves that the min-maxing is an ideal strategy for a lot of the classic kind of builds that they're looking for.
The formula suggests that and encourages that, and all my mind can go is encouraging me to go in the exact opposite direction. Of course, I will have my heroes that I'm going to min-max, and they're going to be my go-to people, but I'm also going to try to create these unique builds, these one-off builds, to try to find, because if everyone's zigging, I want to be zagging.
No, and I'm sure that there will be.
I love that sentiment, by the way.
And I'm sure there will be options for that. But like what we're being presented right now is that
I'll also have a 40% PvP win rate. But anyways,
what he's showing us, this little glimpse that we got, is that min-maxing might be ideal. And again, I hate to say Franz is right. I hate to say it. I really do.
Oh, wait, hold on. First,
but like Franz might be right in his legendary builds that he's done now with 2 or 3 different heroes. I think potentially could pay off.
But don't
tenfold.
act like I'm the only one in the community saying min.
No, Bob Nothing came up with a theory.
No, don't give him credit either.
Sandwich was doing it too. But
no, Matty, literally everyone in the community has been saying min-maxing from jump. So to attribute it,
I don't know, not everybody. Not
silly,
everybody,
but
not everybody.
I think what I would say to this is, do you think we sometimes look too far into the kind of formulas and stuff? Like, at the end of the day, if you didn't know this formula and you just read strength S as strength, you know what you have with your hero.
Yeah.
If it has good strength, use that move.
Okay.
If it doesn't, maybe don't.
All right, let me rephrase.
Like I don't know.
No, because I guess what I'm referring to more is literally the top 5% of players, where it's going to be competitive and it's going to be like what I want it to be an esport, and I want it to be professional esport. I think this is where it comes into play. Can you create a hero that can be significantly higher than every other hero? And I think that's super interesting, because I don't necessarily know if the players who are playing at that top level are creating heroes. And so which in my mind now, and again, I'm kind of tangenting, but like it creates a world where there are talented gaming individuals who are looking for heroes that can gain advantages like this. They'll have to turn to us in the community who've been making heroes for so long, and they will buy them for a premium. And then they'll be able to compete with them using their high brain gaming skills and stuff like that. Because like to gain an advantage here with this, it's ever so slight. And I think you succeeded at it with the archer, with the dex, and then with the other one you did, the thief, right, with the agility. I think you succeeded at that. And I think it's very hard to create someone who statistically is going to be higher than the average.
No, it isn't.
I mean, I used to say that, but like it is. And like most people are not playing the game that way,
Not to pivot into an entirely different conversation, but it like kind of is the same thing. Dags makes a really interesting point about duels. Duels, you're less apt to kind of min-max. Like your goons are your best duels heroes because they're well-rounded. I'd be curious with other types of functionality within the game. You got your professions, you got your crafting, you've got duels, you've got PvP. Is the PvE build versus the PvP build going to be separate types of builds? Are there going to be different play styles and different paths down to how you're actually going to build your hero?
100%, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. The way I'm looking at it, and I mean, thank you for all the credit you're giving me here, but I don't think it's warranted. Once PvP comes out, like right now, we're all battling these boars, right? So just being able to beat the boars is good enough. And then we're fine. If I have a 40 dex archer, it's crushing against these boars. But once we start playing each other, and someone has to go up against my archer that's dealing 600 damage on, like, then you're going to be surprised how quickly people start throwing things into the pit with greater stones. Once there's that arm, right now we don't have an arms race because we all have kind of enough to get the job done. Once we're battling against each other, I think we're going to see a shift. And what I'm doing isn't hard. It's just about actually doing it.
I don't. All right. Maybe I'm being dramatic, perhaps, but in my mind, finding statistical advantage over the average.
Important.
What?
It's important. I'm not trying to discount.
Yeah, I think.
Saying.
I think that, and honestly, fine. Maybe I should say it's Bob Nothing's technique because, or that's bullshit. I think you did it prior to him saying.
I don't know why you're so consumed by giving credit.
You're the one who said don't give me credit, or don't give me as much adoration. But like, the idea of killing 2 good heroes to create like an ideal hero for that thing, and then using the greater stone, I think honestly, in my mind, originally I was kind of nervous. I rebuked at the idea of a greater stone value, like those are expensive.
Yeah.
And killing two legendary heroes, that's expensive too. And I think now I'm like, it's not because based on this formula, if I can get somebody who is statistically has an advantage, especially a significant one where it's 5% or more above what the normal growth is, that's a hero that if it hits on the right stat, it hits on the right move, is going to be very strong in PvP.
Yeah, and so I had someone ask me the other day on Twitter, why do you do these with legendaries? Why don't you do them with mythics? And my answer was because it's more expensive with mythics.
Right.
But like, someone's gonna come along and do them with mythics.
Well, I mean, Workhorse hypothetically has sort of been doing that. I mean,
he's also doing them with level 1s, and I cringe at that because I wait for level 10. But like, he's showing us the roadmap. Like, I don't think he's doing. I think he's doing that because he enjoys it, because it's just fun,
right?
And because he's got a little degen in him. But he's also showing us the roadmap, and he talked about it. So shout out to Sticks Intern and Beeve. They do a Twitter Spaces, which my biggest issue with Twitter Spaces is it's hard to, once they happen, it's hard to like go back and find them. Like, it's not in a curated list. But Workhorse was on there, and he kind of said everything. He was like, you're never gonna, if you have 2 mythics and a greater stone and greater crystals all the way up, there's a fair chance that that's going to be one of the best heroes going forward. So why not do that? I mean, I think that's what it comes down to.
Well, I know I was kind of on a soapbox there, so I apologize. But what are your thoughts on this formula and kind of ideas in general here?
I mean, I think it's a really good idea, right? And I think to the greater conversation you guys are having right now, like, picking your stat wisely is so important, right? If you're going to be building towards something. So let's take for instance, like the high dex archer, right? You're looking for I would assume the highest, but also not insanely expensive class that's based off dex, which would be an archer, and you're looking for a secondary, which is also cheap, but also the highest amount of dex you could possibly get. So you want an archer, right? And then you want to put a dex stone on them, like the greater dex stone, right? And you want it to have a rarity in a certain degree, right? So that can get you the highest growth stats for your dexterity, and it would be great for every single ability that multiplies from a dex stat, but that kind of makes you a one-trick pony in the fact that you may not be entirely balanced for the rest of your stats, but that's okay because you're building your gun. You know what I mean? It's serving a role, it has a purpose, and it's going to do it well no matter what. The interesting part is when you're going to go into, like, okay, say I'm trying to get a high dex archer, but I really want to take advantage of high agility as well while maintaining my build in dex, but I also want to be able to have a utility presence that probably builds off of either agility or dex, which then you'd want your thief. You'd want, I think, who else has got Pirate? Pirate's got a lot of utility that's dex based as well. So it's not going to take too much away from your potential growth on that. But it still opens you up to being able to use that one trick in as many places as you possibly can. And I think that's what really adds to the creativity of the build.
No,
Plus, being a
that's
maxi
super
has never been a bad thing. I mean,
that's super important. I guess and I should emphasize that not every ability or skill that is in the skill tree is going to use this formula.
Not every ability or not every stat in the skill tree or every ability is going to have multipliers placed on it the way that like dex and strength do, right? Or intelligence do.
Yeah.
Like some of them, like agility, I think there's very, very, very few abilities out there right now that are either based off of or even affect agility in the long run. And being an agility maxi, like, you're going to be fast, but with the .s formula, you're not going to be an absolute cranked out turn lapping monster because you're going to be normalized. You're still going to be faster than everybody else, but you're not going to be able to stack so hard in agility that you're going 4 turns in a row.
I guess that's something I should have maybe emphasized, is that I think the thing that this formula does is really pushes how the top tier battles are really going to come down to like the stats of the heroes that are the 6 heroes that are in that battle, because hypothetically it's going to be the same meta. Both teams have the same heroes, and one may have a stat that is boosted that the other doesn't have boosted, and that's going to be the only advantage you have in that battle. But also, I agree with the idea of utility and again of hitting the stat. Like, so this is the formula for taunt that he gave, and he used strength as the example. And honestly, for knight and warrior, I could see somebody not focusing on strength, focusing on vitality or endurance for those heroes in general. And so there's a chance that this is kind of a moot conversation because you didn't hit on that top stat for the move that you needed it to be, Well,
I mean, think about the way Francis is doing it. Like, Francis, you're doing it exactly right. You have a goal that you're going toward, right? I want to do a shit ton of damage with my archer. So I'm going to build it in the way it does the most shit tons of damage. Like, it's exactly the right way to do it. You got the goal and you're building the tool to actualize it.
I actually, sorry, Franz, go.
Yeah, no, so I was going to say, Guy and I were talking today about how he wants to do that with Mythic Bards, but it just doesn't make sense until... Because, like, you look at the Bard, and, like, we all have ideas because we all know Bards and what they are in different games, but until we see that codex, it's kind of hard to
could be luck, could be dex, could even be...
I think Wiz,
Agi.
personally.
Yeah.
I
but
see it
it's
as
like
really interesting stuff.
Yeah, like we have to hold off until we like. I also have 2 mythic.
Wait, can we see the numbers? Can you throw the numbers up there, Guy?
For what?
For the growth numbers.
But like I have it for Ninja. I have it set up. I have a level 15 to level 10 mythic Ninja that are going in the pit, but I'm not even thinking about them yet because I want to see that codex. It's probably going to be Agi that I do, but I want to see.
See, Bards could have a Dex build, they could have a Luck build, they could have an Agi build. But to Franz's point, Wisdom's 60.
I see them as healers.
I don't.
Support
I see them
healers.
I see them as.
I shouldn't say it like that.
Melee support.
No, I see team buff. Team buff.
Team buff, but I think the healing is going to be important. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's seeing the difference. So shout out Pouring. I like to shout him out once a show. He has a priest that has like 65 whiz or something,
right?
And seeing the hits that he gets on heals compared to mine that are like, they're not bad whiz, but it's a big difference. So I don't know. I've been looking at getting Bard Paladins because I'm getting that whiz boost, but it's also kind of helping other stats. But they're all stats.
Summoner, Bard Summoner would be just
I guess
good.
Bard Summoner
it's not better.
I don't know. I don't know what to think about Bard yet. I think as well.
Yeah.
And it's also how far out are we from the codex?
All right.
So-
I want to rewind though, because I want to kind of push on this. Utility is important, but I think I want to push back on the idea of utility being maybe just as equal, if not equal to hitting this formula. Like if you can hit this formula and be 99%, you be the one hero, like you're the top, you're the best, and you're 99% on whatever this, if it's a taunt or if it's whatever it may be, that you can get close to that number. That you, I think 99% is actually probably the max because he'll never give you 100%. What is the value of being the absolute best at this one thing versus having a hero that might be able to then like do secondary things as like
the best answer I can give you there is much like my grandpa's diapers, depends.
I think we have to stop and just stop podcasting after that.
No, but seriously, it does depend, right? Because say like let's go to the archer build here, right? Say instead of going for my insane sniper build with Dex, say I want to do an all-rounder and I instead go in for what are the other two modes here? We would go for, what are my best growth stats, right? So I would go for, or not growth stats, I guess. What are my best ability stats? Which would be Dex, luck, right? Because everything's based off of Dex and luck. So maybe I want to be able to do that to have the flexibility to swap around between the two.
Yeah.
Right? Or, I mean, say I'm a duels maxi and I want to make sure I have the most rounded stat build possible.
Well, so you could also go completely opposite to that. Workhorse put 2 mythic priests in the other day and did a vitality stone. And like you can argue that a priest's biggest, kind of attribute is just staying alive.
Right.
Like that doesn't help his healing ability, but like he's gonna have that extra health. And that's 100%. Totally separate from the codex, but it matters.
So and you could do the same argument with an Agi build too, from a Eternal Order perspective.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, there's 2 sets of stats here, though. We've got ability multiplier stats that affect in-game things, and then we've got like effective character stats, right? Which are your things like vitality and agility, half of luck, right? Because half of luck is crit chance and half of luck is also ability modifier, right? So they're both in game, but agility is only speed for the most part, speed and evasion. And, right? But and then vitality is some abilities are based off of vitality, but I mean for the most part it's just HP growth. Yeah. Same thing with like I guess wisdom and intelligence are kind of in the same ballpark, but not to the extent of like say vitality is and agility are. But less things are going to be based off of ability scaling and more off of like what does it actually do to the character.
And I guess I think that is going to be I guess that's not an answer, or at least I'm not denying anything you said. Everything you said was valid, but like that's going to be the debate that we have on a weekly basis when
until we can test it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because I think like I might value this min-maxing a little bit better, a little bit more than some of the other things you were saying, especially with like the utility. I think, I don't know, I'd rather each of my characters complete their goal to absolute maximum efficiency. Like if you are my damage dealer, I want you to absolutely deal the most amount of damage. Crazy. I don't really care about your hit points. I don't really care about your support abilities. If you're my healer, I want you to heal the best way. And if you're my tank, I want you to absolutely tank the best you absolutely can. And I don't really care about being anything else. But again, I think that's a debate for like actually when we get in there and like we actually have a meta to play with that. Because now it's all theoretical,
I'll go ahead and give you my hot take speculation that hasn't changed in almost a year. Mm-hmm, still, with all the information we've got coming out right now, I still think the best tank in the game is a Paladin Archer with double foresight.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wait, why Archer? I understand
Because-
double foresight.
because paladins are going to have defensive
Oh,
channeled
Shroud.
abilities and shroud.
Because if it still stands,
Hold on.
they gave us an ability in a promotional video, and Wowie will tell you all about it.
Oh yeah, I picked up on it and held on to that like
So
it was for my life.
That was gonna be my question: is why do you say that paladins are gonna have?
Because it was like
ability.
channel basically. Well,
Like a year and a half ago.
it was like taunt in the maybe in the more classic version of taunt.
It was
But
an AoE. It was called Blessing of Justice, I think.
Yeah.
And it was an AoE taunt, effectively, but it wasn't really a taunt. It was a buff that forced all the attacks to go to the paladin instead.
Okay.
So anything that would be
But-
targeting your team go to the paladin instead.
He
And if you've
it
got
was
a higher
he was
evasion-
like channel, so it was
Yeah.
like channel.
it was a channeled ability.
And while channeling, all attacks have to hit him.
Right.
For
So
like
you're
a turn or two.
focusing everything towards the paladin. Then with Shroud, while he's channeling, he gets ahead
Double
of evasion,
foresight.
the
Double foresight with that, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
that's really
and I
good.
can tell you right now, a 36% like evasion chance is better than any endurance maxi can possibly build.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still a paladin, so it's still going to have the HP and it's still going to have the
Even if it takes the
endurance.
hits. Right.
Yeah.
When
right.
it does take hits, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think to a broader point, one thing I've been looking at a lot for subclasses is specifically the passive abilities, those level 1 or level 2 on some different codexes, passives. And it's like, how could this play in well?
Yeah.
Like Berserker has an evasion one that I think could be interesting on thieves or ninjas, stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
It's because you're not going to use a lot of the subclass, but it's about finding those 1 or 2 moves that make sense and fit with a build. So.
Yeah. Exactly. Like you've got the goal and you're utilizing the class as the tool to reach that goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a mythic paladin seer with double foresight. So not quite. That's why when you said archer, I was like, wait, what did I miss? And it sounds like
No, I mean,
good.
yeah.
But like I think that could be good because they have an agi buff as well, I believe. Seers.
Oh yeah. I think if you go Oracle, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is just going to give you a speed buff forever, but you just can't deal damage. But I mean, as a
You're going to want the paladin to deal damage.
if you're a tank and or healer, right? You don't need to be dealing damage.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to be doing your job and soaking damage.
I don't know.
You'd want your
what
paladin to do
happens?
damage,
What happens
but-
when Oracle is the last hero standing? By the way,
It's a slow death. It's kind of like Mama Boar. It just takes a while to kill you.
there's nothing you can do. You can't fight back.
Can't
I don't-
like,
anyway.
rip it off, right?
You can't deal. If you were to deal damage, it does 0 instead.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
I like, and I think I might have said this
But
the
double
last
toxic
time we
might
had
work.
you on, but I love the seer as a pre-sub or
Oh my God,
priest
yeah.
as a seer sub because of the oracle move.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
it's insanely cool.
Priest
Like,
seer
it's a-
combo is amazing.
It's gonna burn through your mana like crazy.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. It's a really good idea.
We have to wrap up, but I have one more topic I do really want to talk
Wait,
about.
we got a question, Mel Green Giant. Do you think the passive abilities for your subclass will be active if you're not currently equipped a weapon for that class?
No, I don't. I think. Well,
Yeah,
That's a really cool question. Actually, I like
don't
that a lot.
think so. I think that the equipment will be completely separate from the hero, in my mind.
I think the equipment loadout that you're using is based off of the ability of that class to use that weapon, right? So say thieves can use daggers and swords and maces, right? Like any one-handed weapon.
Right.
But like say they say a warrior can't use a bow, for instance.
Yeah.
So if you've got an archer subclass, you can't use any of the bow required moves. But why couldn't you use Shroud?
No, I don't. Yeah.
but
I don't even
dictates-
think-
Hold on. What
But yeah, I
dictates
agree.
that rapid shot is a bow required move?
I don't think any moves are going to be weapon dependent.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
It's a weird middle ground. I don't. Like
I don't think it
I
will be.
want to say no, but at the
I mean,
same time,
look at the basic attack. Warrior is a perfect example. Warrior basic attack has a range of 1. He has a special move that's like cycle through everybody. He hits everybody. He cycles through all 3 of them. Doesn't matter what his weapon is. That's just his special move. He can
True.
cycle through everybody and deal damage. So I don't think the weapon is going to determine. I don't think the weapon is going to determine anything for the classes. Is what I mean.
I like the way I like the way you brought that up, because it's like, okay, so the warrior move that hits all 3 people is an AoE move.
Right.
It doesn't require a bow.
Well,
But the warrior doesn't have any abilities that use his weapon that can have a range of 3.
I also wanted to ask that, and well, maybe I should specify this, of like, that is a specific ability that is melee attack on all 3, right? Or question mark? Because he's cycling through all of them. It's a melee attack on all 3 levels. It is not a ranged attack. Right. And this is, it goes to a bigger question of like, does class determine range or melee, or just weapon? I think weapon does, but
I think melee and ranged are going to be 2 distinct types of like weapon class.
Right.
And if your class requires the use for their abilities for a ranged weapon, say like for instance any of the archer abilities that shoot a bow at a range of 1, 2, or 3.
1 small stone.
Has a range of 1 or 2, but they're using a bow that its basic attack also has a range of 1, 2, or 3. The warrior using an AoE ability can hit all 3 with a melee attack, but can never, ever, ever target.
Well, I mean, the harder. Yes, I agree. You're right, but the harder question is magic.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one.
If it's a warrior with a wizard sub, can he do magic bullets? Probably not.
Well, I mean, does a heal require a staff? No, right?
Does a what?
A heal require a staff? No. We would say
no.
That, right?
Well, I guess not.
But does a heal require the use of a magic implement? So
you
would
could
our
assume,
staves and our wands and
you could assume
things like that.
I would still say
they have that on them, right? And it's like
I think this is an interesting topic of discussion, to be honest.
You need to change weapons,
because they were saying you can swap your set for free during.
I think abilities I think are separate from your equipment. Equipment only determines your basic attack.
Are the current abilities categorized into melee things like that? Because
I think they have a category.
Or are all the abilities considered magic? Because it's
no. Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I think all abilities, though, in my mind, and this isn't confirmed. This is all of them have a category of physical melee, physical ranged, magic melee, magic ranged. I think they all have that one of those 4 that are auto assigned to the hero. It doesn't matter what weapon you have. If you have the class to match it, you do it.
I'm sure what Mellow Green Giant said in chat is correct, because I feel like I remember hearing, I feel like this is a Hubert quote where he's saying you will not be able to execute rapid shot with a sword.
Interesting.
Well, but so that changes a lot, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I saw rapid shot as a magic ability, right? Because it's a skill, not kind of dependent on the bow. I see the logic.
It deals physical range damage,
But now I'm looking at these mixed subclass kind of heroes where I have, say a paladin with an archer sub.
Right.
That really limits what you can do with that sub. Is that by design?
I think we need to pull back here. This is a question the team has to answer. I don't think this.
The team has said multiple times you're going to have multiple sets of equipment,
and you're going
to. So your warrior might have a bow and it as a secondary equipment slot just to be able to use those type of moves. But then there becomes the stat check of can your warrior actually use that bow?
Okay, but do I waste a turn? Do I waste a turn to switch to that bow?
No, they said that you're allowed to swap to your offset.
Okay, then I'm
at
okay
the beginning
with that
of your turn for free.
Because it's procking off decks either way, right? Or I guess.
Well, does that apply to magic? So if you have a paladin archer, that's fine. Paladin archer. The paladin has a sword, and his secondary is a bow. But the paladin has access to magic moves. If he doesn't have a magic weapon, is he out of luck completely? Because he chose for his two choices martial weapon and a martial subclass weapon.
What if the paladin's abilities are based off of having a shield?
Well, I'm not totally worried about that. I'm just worried about the magic versus physical.
Well, right, but my point is like, okay, say for instance, you've got a paladin, right? You've got a sword and a shield, and your secondary is a bow, which is a two-handed weapon. Right. You no longer have your shield equipped.
Yeah, your AC is going to change hypothetically.
Right. So your defensive ability is going to be going down for you to have access to a ranged ability. And if what if the paladin's like passives or active abilities are based off of you must have a shield equipped currently?
Yeah, Mellow Green Giant.
Oh, definitely.
I agree with you. Yes,
I'm mad at you because you did, and you made my head hurt.
I have two entire topics. I'm skipping one, and I'm going to one that we are going to talk about. I don't care.
We have to circle back on that. I think someone needs to formulate. How about
I think this is an interesting question.
We've got 3 hours left in this stream. We should be all right.
It is a Matty and Wowie stream, so it will go 5 hours.
I should have never hopped on.
No, let's move on. This is super interesting, and I am curious on it because I guess my question is, let's go back to this class and subclass thing and first equipment and second equipment. If your second equipment is like a range, like a archer, and your first equipment is a like a sword or whatever, can you switch your equipment and do a basic attack and do ranged? Or is that an extra? Is that a move? Is that a turn to change?
Think that's intended.
Is that to change your equipment into a bow?
So you can change it. I think the way it was described was it will be for free. You can change your equipped set, right? Your offhand set,
right?
You can change that for free on your turn, but I think it's only once per turn you can do that. So I can't be a paladin with my sword and shield, switch to my bow, fire my bow, and then switch back to my sword and shield.
But on the next turn,
on the next turn, you could switch back to your sword and shield.
Yeah.
Or on the next turn, you can fire your bow and then switch back to your sword and shield.
Wait, so you're saying that if I'm a paladin, I switch from my sword and shield to a bow. Now that until my next turn, I'm losing that shield's defense.
Right.
Okay, because I was wondering why would it matter? But that actually does matter.
I mean, it doesn't really matter if you have a two-handed sword, like a Dark Knight.
All right, but let's pull it back because we're getting really into it here, right?
Yeah.
So let's pull it back to fun of playing the game. Is it going to be fun if we need to be switching equipment? Do we want to be switching to a bow and arrow as a paladin just because we have an archer sub?
No, other than
I think yes.
Well, wow, you're going to enjoy it. Got it. But the larger population.
Other than the conversation we were having about abilities. And if you're a paladin, does he have to have an archer weapon active to then activate his archer abilities?
And my point is, I think that's a subpar user experience.
Well, I agree.
It's a better user experience if I just have archer sub and can use rapid shot. It's gonna proc off decks because it does, and my paladin has shit decks, so it's not gonna be great. So I'm probably not gonna use it much.
Ooh, but what if he's got good luck and uses one small stone?
I mean,
but I think the question remains. I think it's a fair question for the team of. And again, they've said multiple times that we're very far away from subclasses being activated. So I don't know if we'll get an answer now or any time in the future. But the idea of, do you have to have the proper equipment, or does equipment affect the subclass skills is the question I want to ask, because I think the answer is going to be no, and I think the answer is going to be just because.
Well,
whatever. It's a video game. Who cares?
If it doesn't, it may change the range, and it may change the basic multiplier on each of the abilities that we've seen before. Because you see, most of the physical abilities are basic times blah blah blah, right? In actual form,
right.
So the weapon you have equipped currently may innately change. Say I'm using a two-handed sword on my warrior, right? That's giving me a gigantic basic attack formula, right, to use for anything. Say I want to use one small stone, or say I want to use something that's an archer ability. My range is only 1 because of my weapon. I can still only attack the front row. I see that being a possibility if they allow for use across the board.
But skills supersede weapon range. I mean, the warrior can taunt back row.
True, but we're talking about, like, okay, what's the overlap here? If the say the warrior's got a bow equipped, can it use gladiator strike on the on P3?
On 2 and 3.
Right. I don't think
so. I love that idea.
I think because the ability has a range of 1, the attack has a range of 1, period.
I don't know. That's very
tough. Weapon has a range. If the weapon has a range of 3, well, does the ability have a range of 3?
That might be a Hubert pop quiz question, to be honest, of a warrior cleave usage, because the warrior cleave ability is a unique kind of thing that no one else can do. I don't know.
I'm having a lot of fun thinking about this.
I know, yeah.
If the warrior has a range of 1, but this question's giving Franz a headache, then what happens?
All right, we are very late. We have gone over time by many minutes. I have one final topic that I really want to discuss with everybody here, and I'm really glad you guys got here. I'm skipping a couple things. I'm going right to the bottom. Hubert suggested, and actually, Franz, I got bad news for you. Wowie proved that, like, silence is in a bunch of classes, and you missed it. But Workhorse claims.
Fair enough.
Workhorse claimed that silence magic is very hard to do, and that only classes that have studied for a long time are able to do silence magic. And I took that to mean Sage, hypothetically, will be able to do silence and silence other classes as a move, because we haven't really seen many silences in the basic classes.
Yeah, wait, what basic classes? I'm challenging that point. I'm throwing the challenge flag.
Well, you found a couple, right?
Yeah, a couple of them can silence already.
Pirate had it.
Yeah,
Warrior had it.
A bunch of instances.
I was told Pirates getting a full remake, so.
That's not true.
No, Luffy got the rework treatment.
That's. I mean, I was told by you that Pirate is getting the rework, right?
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I'm not counting that one.
I mean, like I said before, anything that's rated like way more wowies than is probably warranted. That's getting a rework. If it's got like more than 3 wowies, it's probably getting a rework.
So I want to talk about silence a little bit. Well, sorry, Franz, you go. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, because I see Dag saying Chatterbox Baby in the chat.
Yeah,
it's so good.
I was very high Chatterbox, and I'm not as much anymore, because I just don't know how often there's gonna be an attempt to silence me. Whereas I look at Foresight, and I'm just so freaking bullish Foresight, because it's not as specific. It's so kind of overarching. My evasion is getting buffed. You know? I don't know.
No, I can't deny that. I think evasion is included in almost every instance when you're in battle. Every attack evasion is going to be called upon, where silence has specific times when it's going to be called upon. And so we see it a couple times.
More than a couple.
In the basic attacks.
All right. I think this was just... Hold on.
But when we talked to Workhorse, he was pretty specific, and he said silence magic is hard to do, and I think he was referring to Sage. Sage being the one who has more silence abilities than the other classes. My question then becomes, are you worried about, should we be worried about silence? I mean, maybe we shouldn't. If Sage is the master of it, and we have some basic classes that may be able to do it in a couple instances here and there, I think, I don't know. I think maybe, I don't know. I think it's going to depend on the meta. Like, are sages more popular in the meta or not? Is magic damage hitting harder than physical damage? I think there's going to be waves. I don't know if we're able to tell right now, but like, I do love theory crafting on this. So let me know your thoughts.
I just realized this sheet, the sheet that you're looking through right now, my super spec sheet, this is almost exactly a year old.
Woohoo!
Wow. That's fun.
Yeah, I think on the 20, like 2 more weeks since a 1 year anniversary of the super spec
That's
sheet.
fun. Yeah.
But
I mean, that checks out. No, remember December 25th.
Yeah,
That's when they
he
dropped.
released
That's when
some-
they dropped the. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
and
on
then
Christmas.
Yep, and then 2 days later, I went for bottomless mimosas and a round of mimosa number 19. I came home and I was like, I liked it. I'm going to write something about this. But I think the way you're looking at it is not as complete as you might think it is. Can you rephrase what you're talking about in like a quick question?
Don't ramble for 5 minutes.
Yeah. The ability silence is not going to be as prevalent as I think. Should I be worried about it?
I think you should be as worried about silence as you are blind. Because blind and silence are like 2 heads of the same coin, right?
Mhm.
Blind basically cripples all physical ability, and silence cripples all magic ability. And we see this being equally attributed in the basic passive traits, where you have a 40% chance to not be blinded. You've got a 40% chance not to be silenced.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think they are equally as terrifying, and as answers to potential team comps, they're going to be absolutely crucial. So I don't think it's the way, like, I think saying, am I worried about silence? It's, do I plan on predominantly running magic ability casters? That's how, in like conversely, or not conversely, but that's equal on how scared of silence I am. If I'm running a full magic team comp, I'm terrified of silence. No matter where it's coming from, no matter how it's coming out, I don't want to be silenced. But if I'm running a full physical comp, I don't give a shit about
Wait.
silence.
Really? So
Yeah.
Am I not understanding silence the right way? Because I saw silence as not able to use any skills.
Oh, they changed that?
Magic
No,
ability.
maybe I'm just confused.
Silence is, and this is actually something I want to discuss
Cannot
in general.
Okay, I think I have misunderstood.
But so
Silence
to your
magic
point, is a warrior's ability a magical ability?
No. If it doesn't do magic damage, silence doesn't apply to
So
it.
anything
Okay.
that does fit. So archers' moves
glad we
are
had this
not
conversation.
magic.
Exactly. Well,
I
and vice versa. Fear, I think. Well, blind, yes, blind, but fear, I think, is the better example because fear says you can't do physical moves, right?
For 2 rounds. But
Yeah.
the interesting thing about blind that does not exist anywhere else is status effect persists until removed.
Yeah,
That's
very
scary.
So
as
blind
hell.
cannot be cleansed. Is that what that's saying?
Well,
Basically.
you can physically
can.
remove it.
have to cleanse.
Everything else is like a 2
Oh, it
round
stays
period.
forever. I see what you mean. Yeah,
I feel like that might change. That seems too strong.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, that's
Yeah.
definitely going away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry. Wow. Fear and silence are almost the same, right?
No. So fear is a foil for for tanks, right? Because tanks can
Well,
predominantly,
sorry.
not only.
I understand, but I mean, like, fear is for physical as silence is to magical.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's the fear effect is more about a push with a bonus effect, while the blind is a
Blind affects everything, though, right?
Right. Well, I mean,
It's your accuracy completely.
Yeah, you're right. What am I thinking of? I think you're right. I think I am thinking fear versus silence.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
fear is to physical as silence is to magic.
Honestly, looking at blinding winds, like to me, that's blinding winds.
Blind is significantly stronger than both those, in my opinion.
Right,
It
and if that
affects
doesn't
everything.
change, blinding winds might be better than daze or better than like other advanced abilities because of the fact that it needs to be removed.
Here's what I've been thinking about doing. I was thinking about, like, I'm not going to be here over the next couple of weeks because I'm going to be out of town with family. But I was thinking, since this is the year anniversary of when the Super Spec cheat was born here, right? I'm going to be back on like January 2nd. And I'm thinking about, I mean, we could all do this as a collaborative family. We can go through here and have a nice little community discussion while I re-rank my new thoughts on all of the old trait rankings.
I like.
Let me check my calendar. Wowie, I'm in. I'm in. I checked it. I'm in.
Let me get a free 7 hours in a row.
Oh yeah, that one's gonna require a lot of coffee.
How about? Oh my God, Wowie,
Yeah.
I would love this. We'll do it. You will have shifts for the other people. The two of us will stay on the whole time. We'll take on other people in the community as shifts, and they can comment on whatever we're talking about at the moment. I love it.
I like the idea of a ton of us up here, and we all have like actual like pieces of paper that we put up, and it says like A or S.
Yeah.
You know, like Wowie. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Shoot. Yeah. So wait, if you go to the Archer right now, do the skills say?
I have not updated
They
the
do. They
new
say
one.
physical. Okay.
So, all right.
Well,
Well,
I was thinking of silence as like fully incapacitating a hero.
Which they don't rework that to be.
Not.
So this is something I was texting with Wowie about this before. Excuse me. In general, in games, Hearthstone, for example, a couple others, I hate silence as a mechanism. I really don't like the idea of I'm going to negate everything you do right now. You know, my one move stops you from doing everything.
Right.
That is not what silence in this game is going to be, which I'm so excited about. Silence in this game is a specific thing for magic abilities. It's going to stop magic abilities from being possible. For usually, it's only for a finite amount of time. It's not indefinite.
Silence is when your wizard has to switch over to its second set and brings out its broadsword.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is actually, well, that's a whole other question of like, should you be giving him a sword? Anyways, but like, I really like how they did silence here. Silence only stops magic abilities from being able to be cast. And I think the generic is 2 turns, but like there's always a finite amount of time for it to occur. So I really like it because I hate in other games where it's like negate all things. That's never any fun when you have that counter. I hate that. So I think the way they defined it here is a lot of fun and creates a lot of fun strategy of like, you know, if you're a magic team or if you're a physical team, do you want to have anti-silence or anti-fear techniques? Like it creates a lot more fun and a lot more strategy.
Is there anti-fear?
Fearless.
Yeah.
Fearless there's a trait that's fearless, but like pirate has a fear boost. I forget what it was, but like, no, there's not a lot of anti-fear, and there's also not a lot of anti-silence, which is also interesting. And again, I think the advanced classes might have stuff, you know, that play to that. So,
oh my God, can we immortalize that Styx intern quote right here? Because this is the greatest thing I've ever read in my entire life.
What?
The next one.
You were literally my target opponent.
You are literally my target opponent, which is such a good call out. I can't.
What? Like describing how you like to play the game, and then
like he's basically sitting there going, "I could slay you so easy."
Yeah, because if he uses silence magic, he knows Matty's gonna rage quit within 2 turns. It's a pretty easy way to.
That's
to
a fact.
Win.
All right.
Yeah. All right. This changed the way I thought about silence and about chat. I have some like physical heroes with double chatterbox because I was thinking of it as, and now
like the classic kind of
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of berserkers and archers with double chatterbox hit the tavern in the next
hour and a half. So
Yeah. Ooh,
fine.
that's actually a really good point to the greater ecosystem that's going to happen with hero pricing. Is we see a lot of floor heroes, right, that are all pretty much generally within the same like 5 to 10 crystal bracket of the lowest to, kind of the lowest. And they're always just like, okay, it's either common or uncommon, and it doesn't have a blue crafting gene, and it doesn't have any other blah, 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 blah. But what you're going to start seeing is, these traits aren't conducive to the actual class and subclass at all. So it's going to be put lower. Or these ones combo
that goes back
together,
to our
it's gonna
whole
be
conversation,
posted
though,
higher.
about like this class is maximized for this one stat.
Oh, yeah.
Potentially, there's a build for the utility for having an off. I mean, I don't know. I think, yeah, that's a good point.
I'm telling you right now, the people who are buying heroes based off of the class combination growth plan, and then are working towards either a crafting goal or a profession goal or a traits goal. Like that's really the play here, because everyone else is going to be left behind if you're not planning for those kinds of deals.
It would be interesting to see, and I think that's 100% fair, but I think like
because I go through the tavern every day and I'm just like, wow, that's not worth that.
Well,
that's
agreed.
way underpriced. That's way underpriced. Oh my
lately.
god.
I think double fearless martial classes are very underrated right now.
Yes.
Because fear is going to be how you stop a knight or a warrior from swinging at you,
So fearless is another one that I misinterpreted, and really I think this comes down to reading comprehension. I just need to read better.
Sure.
But I was stacking paladins, knights with double fearless because of the push mechanic.
Yeah.
But then I was realizing that it comes off of the fear mechanic and can't be pushed. It doesn't mean they just can't be pushed, right?
Right. Well, because the key part of the fear thing is if you are feared, you can't do any
I was looking at it for like boar hunts, like once.
Right. No. That doesn't matter. Yeah.
Be able to push
those are separate. Yeah. Pushing and pulling is separate from fear.
So,
dang.
Yeah, sorry, you were wrong on that.
What are you
Franz was, hey, everybody, Franz was wrong on that.
Well, I mean, should I pull up the deck sponsor again?
All right. Wowie, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for us. We got to do some random tangents tonight, and I'm very excited about it. And
it's been a while.
I think I will say this. I'm traveling like most of the rest of December, but like next time you do a Twitch stream, let me know, because like we got to get back out there.
Heck yeah, man. I'll be looking to get back into it as well. I'm also traveling the rest of December.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a little hard to nail down a when and where.
Yeah.
But I plan to be coming back into this like fully in the next year. New Year's resolution. Double down on my delusion with DFK.
Awesome.
Like it's going to work out.
Hey, don't you dare say delusion. How dare you?
Hey,
we've all put a lot into this, and we don't think it's a delusion. All right, you guys are here. I didn't think you'd be here, but Franz and Guy Kid, last thoughts, last ideas here on this episode.
I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, I'm very tired, sleepy. Some might even say sleepy.
This has been an episode of Bogside Chats. My name is Matty Pesk. For our guest Wowie and for Franz and Guy Kid, thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll catch you next week.
Later.
Love you guys.